Our next tape on the Seagal shelf trades Brooklyn street grime for some battleship steel, plenty of missile launch tension, and one of the all-time great "how is this actually a Seagal movie" upgrades. Today we're moving from Out for Justice to the movie where Seagal stopped feeling like just a video store action star and very briefly looked like a full-blown mainstream action A-lister. Tonight we're rewinding to 1992 when the Seagal machine hit its commercial peak. So let's dive into Under Siege.
Here we go, Mr. Big Balls. I'm gonna take you to the bank, Senator Trent. To the blood bank. Go get my pies out of the oven! My friend, he's a little bit country. I'm a little bit rock and roll. What does that mean?
What's up out there, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm Anthony DeJoya, and this is Movies Never Say Die, your home for pure 80s and 90s retro movie insanity. Last time in the Seagal series, we covered Out for Justice, where Seagal stomped through Brooklyn in full street-level revenge mode with a villain who almost stole the movie out from under him. This time, we're rolling into the next phase of that early golden era Seagal run with 1992's Under Siege, a movie with bigger scale, bigger box office results, nastier villains, and the kind of glossy studio energy that kind of made it feel like Seagal had wandered into the A-list action aisle and made himself feel comfortable. Now it's the same deal as always with the Seagal series. We're going to do a quick Seagal career backdrop up to this movie, then we're going to dive into this one covering its development and production. We're going to talk about what works, what doesn't. We're going to cover its box office and rental life, talk about its action legacy, and then we're going to slap a Seagal grade on it. So with all of that said, let's dive into how we got from Gino Felino's Brooklyn street chaos to Casey Ryback cooking in what would end up being the world's most dangerous kitchen. Now, between Out for Justice and Under Siege, Seagal picked up one of the weirdest career footnotes of the era, that being his infamous Saturday Night Live hosting gig. He would host the show on April 20th, 1991, and over time, that episode has built a reputation like a movie set on fire in legend. Past recollections, backstage stories, and later comments all helped turn it into one of the defining pop culture side notes of Seagal's early rise, but not in a good way. Regardless, though, heading into Under Siege, Seagal still had plenty of real box office momentum, but he also had a little celebrity static around him as well, so in a strange way that kind of makes this movie feel even more important because it was the moment when all the celebrity noise got drowned out by a genuine box office hit. And this was also where the Seagal operation clearly leveled up. No more just tossing him into bars or warehouses or city alleys and letting him fold people into furniture. Under Siege was built to feel bigger. Warner Brothers even wanted to keep the three-word title streak rolling, with Last to Surrender being floated as the preferred title.
Negative.
Before that, it was apparently going as Dreadnought when production kicked off, which to me sounds less like a hit action movie and more like a direct-to-video movie sold at Kmart from the bargain bin. Thankfully, a third title option came in and won out because Under Siege just sounds cleaner, meaner, sharper, and way more like the kind of movie that just belonged on a premium VHS box with metallic lettering. Now, behind the scenes, the production had a real event movie footprint to it as well. Production would kick off in March of '92 in Mobile, Alabama, with the USS Alabama being dressed up as the USS Missouri, and most interior sets being built in airport hangars, with extra footage being shot in and around Pearl Harbor and San Francisco. And you can just feel that scale all throughout this finished movie. It doesn't play like the other compact Seagal revenge action romps. It feels broader, more expensive, and much more polished from the jump. Apparently, Seagal also reportedly passed on this project multiple times until revisions were made that improved Erica Eleniak's character, with Seagal claiming he didn't like the idea of the hero saving the day with a dumb, shallow stripper, so her character was rewritten and reworked to be given more depth. Although years later, Seagal would claim he wanted the opposite, so who knows for sure. It's just Seagal being Seagal.
What kind of babbling bullshit is this?
Regardless, Under Siege still felt more grounded with a wider scope. During the rollout, Seagal even was pitching the film as more of an adventure than a straight-up action beatdown movie like his other flicks, and honestly, that checks out. The movie still does have that Seagal DNA, but it definitely feels like a bigger, more complex ride wrapped around him.
I think this is the big one, Carlito. Got our own little Academy Award here, and I think it's gonna be good. You ready?
There's also the fun visual detail that Seagal cut the trademark ponytail off for this movie, which sounds small until you realize how much of early Seagal mythology was wrapped up into that whole silhouette. It was almost like Under Siege was trying to sand off just enough of the old image to make him more digestible as a mainstream action lead. Not too much, obviously. This is still very much Steven Seagal, but just enough that the movie could sell him less as a cult martial arts oddity and more as a mainstream studio action hero.
Are you like some special forces guy or something?
I'm just a cook.
A cook?
So what is Under Siege? Well, it's basically Seagal getting dropped into a very slick, die hard on a battleship setup, which is already a strong starting point before anybody has thrown a punch or broken a bone. Seagal here plays Casey Ryback, a Navy cook who is very obviously not just a Navy cook, and when terrorists hijack the ship, the whole movie quickly turns into a steel corridor pressure cooker, and that setting alone does a ton of the work. The battleship becomes this big, confined playground for the action, which gives the movie a strong pace and tension that some of the earlier Seagal films didn't always have. And look, I think one of the smartest things Under Siege does is that it contains Seagal a little. Not completely, we're not rewriting history here. He's still very much Seagal and gliding through scenes with that half whisper, half cosmic certainty energy of his, but this premise forces him into a more traditional action hero lane, and that actually does help the movie. The extra Seagal sauce gets dialed down just enough. He's still cool, he's still dangerous, still impossible to rattle, but the movie around him is doing a lot more of the heavy lifting. Which leads us right into the villains. Now, there are villains, and then there are villain duos, and Tommy Lee Jones and Gary Busey absolutely make this movie sing. Jones is having a blast, and you can see it. Busey wanders in with pure bad intention energy, and I love it, and together they give the movie the kind of unhinged villain energy that keeps it lively even when Seagal is in full human stoneface mode. And personally, I think that balance is a huge reason why Under Siege works so well. Seagal is solid, maybe at his best, but the bad guys give the movie lift, and honestly, that's part of why this has always been one of my favorite Seagal movies to watch. It's not just him steamrolling through nameless goons. In this one, everybody feels like they showed up to play, and it translates into an absolute blast on screen. I think the action greatly benefits from the setting and the tight pacing. The fights are well staged, the movie moves quickly, and there's just a polished studio sheen here that makes everything pop a little more than his earlier entries. It still has the satisfying Seagal brand of bone-snapping efficiency, but now it's wrapped inside something that feels cleaner and tighter. This isn't just a rental shelf curiosity. This is a movie that made it feel like Seagal had a shot at becoming something bigger in the industry. Now, financially, this was the payoff flick. Under Siege would open at #1 with $15.8 million. It would stay in the #1 spot for a month and finish with $83.6 million in the States, with international numbers pushing the tally up to $156.6 million, all against a $30 million budget. So that's not just another solid Seagal result. That was the peak. This was the movie where the numbers stopped looking like cult action business and started looking like real studio hit business. And of course, like all the best movies from this era, the afterlife for Under Siege absolutely mattered as well. This thing was huge on VHS, and it was even reported that video stores kept having to replace copies because Erika Eleniak's cake scene kept getting worn out from excessive rewinding. Which to me is exactly the kind of just wonderfully dumb, wonderfully specific, cool VHS era fun facts that Just makes talking about these movies so much fun. You can't get that from modern streaming culture. That's pure retro analog video chaos and a reminder of how physical media degeneracy back in the day never lied about a person's viewing patterns. Now, critically, this one landed better than most Seagal movies as well. Vincent Canby called it almost guiltily enjoyable, which honestly, I think is a perfect description because that's exactly where Under Siege lives. It's slick, ridiculous, efficient, and way more watchable than it probably has any right to be. It also would become the only Seagal movie to receive Academy Award nominations, earning 2 nods in the sound categories, which feels like one of the funniest and most amazing little footnotes in Seagal's whole filmography. So when I stack this one up against the Seagal Golden Era run, Under Siege feels like the movie where all the moving parts finally just clicked together and the calibration was truly dialed in. The premise is strong, the setting is perfect, the pacing is sharp, the villains are excellent, and Seagal is used exactly the way he should be. This is the movie that explained why for a very brief moment it really looked like Seagal had hit another level in Hollywood. Because with this one, I think you really could feel the whole Hollywood star machine shifting into top gear. So for my score, I'm going to give Under Siege 5 out of 5 Seagals. This is clearly the peak. Not because it's secretly prestige cinema, it isn't. And not because Seagal suddenly becomes this wildly layered character, because he doesn't. But instead it's, I think, the cleanest, most effective version of what his early run was building toward. A bigger canvas, a tighter movie, stronger villains, and a real-time premise that keeps everything moving. And if you only showed somebody one Seagal movie to explain why he mattered in the early 90s, I think this would be the tape. Now I want to kick it back to you guys. Where did Under Siege first hit you? Was this a theater watch, a cable favorite, or one of those VHS rentals where everybody in the room suddenly acted very interested in the plot around the cake scene? Drop your memories down in the comments. I love hearing where you guys first found these gems. Now, next up in the Seagal series, we leave the peak and we start moving into the more fascinating part of the story, because after Under Siege, Seagal does not exactly keep things modest. We head into On Deadly Ground, where the scale gets bigger, the message gets louder, and the self-seriousness gets cranked up to some absurdly majestic levels that didn't work out as Seagal probably had intended. So if you're into this kind of VHS era breakdown, you're definitely going to want to be on the lookout for that next episode. And before you guys bounce out, if you're having fun and you're digging the retro vibes here on the channel, make sure to check out my Friday Night Rentals playlist, where I dive into all kinds of classics from the 80s. You can also check out my VHS Vault playlist, where I dive into those 90s home video store favorites that just lived on the shelves for years. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching and supporting the channel and talking movies with me down in the comments. I appreciate all of you guys. If you did have fun with this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the notification bell so you never miss a new video when they're released. And until the next one, movies never say die.
Jack Burton and the Pork Chop Express, and I'm talking to whoever's listening out there.
Survive a war, you gotta become war.
I suppose we have to register you as a lethal weapon.
You trying to say Jesus Christ can't hit a curveball?